This is Point of Inquiry for Monday, October 16th, 2006.
Welcome to Point of Inquiry. I'm DJ Grothy. Point of Inquiry is the radio show and podcast of the Center for Inquiry, a think tank collaborating with the State University of New York at Buffalo on the new Science and the Public master's degree. CFI also has branches in Manhattan, Tampa, Hollywood, and Washington, D.C., in addition to 11 other cities around the world. Every week on this show, we look at some of the big questions facing us in society, and we try to look at them through the lens of the scientific outlook. We focus mostly on three research areas. First, pseudoscience and the paranormal. Second, alternative medicine. Third, secularism and religion, the intersection of religion and science in our society. We look at these three areas by drawing on CFI's relationship with the leading minds of the day, including Nobel Prize-winning scientists, public intellectuals, social critics and thinkers, and renowned entertainers. Before we get to this week's guest, Richard Dawkins, I want to talk about a couple things real quick. I'd like to welcome new campus groups that have affiliated with us since the last show at Brock University, at the École Secondaire Étienne Brule University in Toronto, at Cuesta College in San Luis Obispo, California. So welcome to the new campus groups. And if you'd like to work with us to advance science and reason at your school, go to campusinquirer.org and sign up. Also, before the discussion I had with Richard Dawkins, I'd like to appeal to the listeners of Point of Inquiry to subscribe to the two flagship magazines out of the Center for Inquiry, Free Inquiry Magazine and Skeptical Inquirer Magazine. You can receive a sample copy of either magazine by going to our website, pointofinquiry.org. You'll notice some updates to the site if you go check it out. And I think you'll enjoy these magazines. Richard Dawkins writes regularly for them. Sam Harris, Daniel Dennett, on and on. Really, the leading lights of the day contribute to these two publications. So please do get involved with the Center for Inquiry by subscribing to the magazine. Subscribing helps us continue to advance science and reason in our society. Now, a quick word from our sponsor, and then finally, the interview with Richard Dawkins.
The world is under assault today by religious extremists who invoke their particular notion of God to try and control what others think and do. One magazine is dedicated to keeping you up to date with analysis that cuts through the noise and the surprising courage to appear politically incorrect. That magazine is Free Inquiry, the world's leading journal of secular humanist opinion and commentary. Regular contributors include Richard Dawkins, Wendy Kaminer, Christopher Hitchens, Peter Singer, and Sam Harris. Their views are reasoned, thought-provoking, and to some, unpardonably infuriating. Subscribe to Free Inquiry today. 1 year, 6 controversial issues for $19.95. Call 1-800-458-1366 or visit us on the web at secularhumanism.org.
It is a great pleasure for me to have back on the show Professor Richard Dawkins. He's the first holder of the Charles Simonyi Professorship of the Public Understanding of Science at Oxford University, and the recipient of a number of awards for his writings and for his science, including the International Cosmos Prize, the Kistler Prize, and the Shakespeare Prize. He's also a Fellow of the Royal Society. In a recent poll in the United Kingdom, he was named Britain's leading public intellectual. He's the author of a number of critically acclaimed books, bestsellers, such as The Selfish Gene, The Blind Watchmaker, Unweaving the Rainbow, The Devil's Chaplain, and The Ancestor's Tale. He's joining us today on Point of Inquiry to discuss his new book, The God Delusion. Welcome back to Point of Inquiry, Richard.
Well, thank you very much. Point of Inquiry is such a wonderful show. It's a real pleasure to be back.
Well, thank you for saying that. Richard, your book is just out and already like a worldwide bestseller. It's been #1 on Amazon UK and the Canadian Amazon.com out of all books in all categories, and in the top 2 or 3 in the US, and it's moving up. It's currently on the New York Times bestsellers list for hardcovers at number 8. a lot of people are going to read this book, The God Delusion. To start off the discussion, let me ask you, you're a professor of the public understanding of science. What business do you have writing a book that treads on religion's turf? Why would a professor of science, public understanding of science, even as acclaimed and influential as you are, well, why would you write a book about religion? You're not professor of the public understanding of religion.
I don't think religion really has a turf. I don't think that there actually is a proper subject there. What I do think is that the claims that religion makes are actually scientific claims. That may sound a rather odd thing to say because it's a thing that a lot of scientists would deny. But if you think about it, the claim that the universe contains and or was made by a supernatural intelligence is a scientific claim in the sense that it's a very different kind of universe that has such a being in it than one which hasn't. So I think in one way it's the biggest scientific claim that one could ever make. I think it's a false claim that a God exists, and I think that scientists have every right to discuss that claim and, in my view, to dismiss it.
On that point, about this book, you're jumping into the culture wars more than any of your other books. Issues like stem cell research, cloning, abortion, euthanasia, gay rights, all the other culture war issues. Well, atheistic science generally has one point of view on all these big questions, and devout religious believers have the opposite view. Why are you jumping into the culture wars? You intimated an answer just now, but aren't scientists supposed to be above the fray of all this culture warring?
Scientists obviously can't be above the fray when the issue is something like stem cell research because it directly threatens what they do. In my own field of evolutionary biology, we are even more starkly threatened in the education field by those who would try to subvert scientific education right across the American education system by trying to introduce so-called intelligence